All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Workbench, your resource-rich weekly podcast and newsletter. Super excited today to be joined by Mike Harvey. He's the founder and CEO of the Roof Resource, which is an innovative new model on the roofing business, a business that, from my understanding, has typically relied heavily on insurance and cost-plus pricing. Mike has a new model here that really makes it a win-win for both his business and his franchisees, as well as for the homeowners. I got to dive into the business model a little bit. One of Mike's franchisees down here in Austin learned a bunch about it. So really excited to talk to Mike, the founder and CEO of the business. Mike, thanks so much for coming on. How's your week been so far?
Well, thanks, Brian, for having me. It's always busy,
Yeah.
and so I'm always I always take a pause for a moment because it's a blessing, but very busy. So
Yeah.
good things
Yeah.
happening.
Busy is definitely good. I think as an entrepreneur, one of the worst feelings is silence. No emails, no texts, no activity. To me, that's more anxiety inducing than a busy day.
Yeah, that's a sign of you might need to pivot.
Yeah. So Mike, tell us a little bit about the background on Roof Resource and the business at large, and then we'll dive into some of the details around what you're building here.
Okay. Well, Brian, I went ahead and I was, corporate America guy and very successful career. I was transitioning out of corporate America and looking to open up a consulting business and kind of keep sharing. And then someone had said, "Hey, do you want to get into roofing?" And immediately I'm like, I have no clue what goes on in roofing. And I always say there's a million ways to make $1 million, and no, thank you, not for me. He continued to kind of pursue me over that year in 2019 to a point where I said, "Hey, let me take my own advice. It's like you got to get uncomfortable to figure things out and grow." 3 weeks, we made quite a bit of money because I had called him up and said, "Okay, let's do this roofing thing." The one thing I did know, though, Brian, was that he knew all the roofing. And in my career, I, trained direct sales reps all over the country on how to go out and create connection. You hear a lot of things about selling, right? It's how to close, and you gotta go in and find the pain points. And I think that there's not enough talk about connecting with people because
Spin
when you
selling, the BANT framework, I've been through them all.
all of that, right? And it's about the
Yeah.
connection. It's
Yeah.
about building a connection with someone. And so I trained that. And so we went out and did that, and we made it was like 200 grand and 188,000 to be exact in 3 weeks.
Doing
It was like,
roofing jobs specifically.
yeah, it was just like, wait a minute, this is too easy.
Yep.
In 9 months, we did $1 million, just the two of us. But during that process is when I was starting to learn a lot of the hidden secrets that were no longer hidden to me because I was in roofing, of what happens, how do you maximize profit, how do you maximize material profit, how do you maximize labor profit, how do you profit from all these other things, and then just what your general markup is going to be. And then there's this one factor, and that is the homeowner doesn't know what they don't know. And how much is that factor? Is that another 10% or is that another 50%? And I got to a point where I said, well, there was a pivotal moment where I sold the roof for 14 grand. I put it on for $6,200. I pocketed 8 grand of their 401k. And then I installed family the next 2 days. And there was such a bipolar difference of taking advantage of someone. And I opened up the world for my family and gave them everything at my cost. And so I said, well, if I could do that for family, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this for strangers? And I could do it for everybody. That was the idea. I left the partnership, and then I opened up at the end of 2020, I opened up the Roof Resource.
So for those that are uninitiated, most of our audience and people that have been on the podcast and the people I work with in home services for my business look at roofing as one of the biggest ticket home services. We're talking 30, 50, maybe $60,000 a roof, maybe more. Correct me if I'm wrong. Before we dive into the Roof Resources new model, what is the traditional way that a roofing company in Austin, in Michigan, in New York, wherever is going to go about pricing that roof for someone that needs a roof replacement?
That's a great, excuse me, that's a great question, Brian. So in the traditional model today, and it doesn't matter if it's New York, if it's Texas, it's Montana, it's Michigan, Ohio, Florida, it is homeowner. I don't know if hey, I need to get a roof. I go out and I Google it, and we'll talk about a retail, and then we'll talk about a storm chaser. And I need to get a new roof. And all of a sudden, they put their name in some vehicle, and now they're getting inundated with phone calls. They're going to get there's over 102,000 roofing companies in the country.
Wow.
So when you think about per state and per area, there could be 500 to 3,000 different roofing companies. So a homeowner has a ton of work to do before, they obviously get to the final selection. So they start getting phone calls. People are saying, hey, this is great. I've got your address. We need to have you meet with a sales rep. We'll have someone come out to your home. It'll be the owner. It'll be a sales rep. It'll be someone. And they come out to the home. They get up on the roof. They walk around. They take pictures of the roof. And keep in mind, that roofing company already knows Brian, that Brian's looking for a roof. Like, you wouldn't have me out there if you weren't thinking about getting a roof. So I already have you.
Lead. Yeah.
Your mindset is, hey, I already have somebody in the hopper here.
Yeah.
So now they're taking pictures. They come down, and then they take them over to the kitchen table, and they sit down, and they're breaking bread, having a cup of coffee, whatever, smiling, connecting. Right. And they're doing this so that they can start to build trust. And then what leads after trust? Influence, right? So they're breaking bread. They're talking about their company, how long they've been in business, the brands that they represent. And then they price condition the homeowner. Based on the size of your home and the amount of squares that you have, your roof is going to be $34,500. And then here's the magic question, Brian, and I'm so glad I'm talking with you about this to share. Here's the magic question. How does that compare to the budget you were planning on spending, Brian? And they hush. And they're waiting for you to say, that's about right. Oh boy, now they've won it all day long. Or that's too much. And then it's, okay, not a problem. And then they'll go and negotiate $500 for a yard sign, $2,000 off, call my manager. What do you think? What's it going to take to earn your business today? The standard typical stuff. That is everywhere. When you name all the big name brands that are out there today, they all spend millions of dollars on salespeople to learn the proxemics of sales. Where do I sit at the table next to the husband, next to the wife? How do I present this in a way that we're going to win today? Mm-hmm. They say be backs or be gones. It's constant. Roofing is selling. That's it. Okay. And so that is today how a homeowner has to go to the market and get a roof. And that presentation, Brian, can be 1 hour, maybe. Typically, and I'm in the Michigan market, we hear anywhere from 2 to 5 hours. Wow. And if it's 4 or 5 hours, that homeowner is spent, they're wanting someone to get out of their home, they don't like it. And we've all heard the stories, right? But if they are taking about an hour to 2 hours of their time, that's how long it's taking. So when it comes to storm chasing and a storm comes through, the door knockers come from all over the country to a market, knock on the door. Hey, you've had a storm, you've had hail, you've had wind. We can help. Sign this document. And what basically that is some states have it, which is an AOB, assignment of benefit. And what you're doing and what the homeowner's doing is giving that roofing company the right to now deal with your insurance company and negotiate the payment with your insurance company. And what homeowners don't know, Brian, and I'll stop. What homeowners don't know is that when that one company says, hey, it's $38,000, mm-hmm. necessarily that's not the end. We actually have somebody that's going through this process. He did it in September, wasn't aware of the roof resource, and we weren't available or in the market at that time. And it's still today an open case, and that claim has climbed to $60,000. And what homeowners don't understand is that that's a claim against the homeowner. And so when you sign away those rights about getting a free roof, Nothing is free. So those are two different ways homeowners when they need to get a roof.
Yeah, and the insurance thing, I think, I've never had a good experience dealing with health insurance or really any other type of insurance for that matter. It seems like if I was a roofing company and I got a homeowner to sign over the AOB, my incentive now is to milk that insurance company for every dollar it's worth. It's a multi-billion or trillion-dollar company. And so my incentive now is not to get it done as fast as possible. It's simply just to get the most amount of money out of the insurance company. So how is Roof Resource then, Mike, taking this traditional either insurance led model or the traditional, direct sales model and flipping on its head? What are you guys doing differently?
Yeah. So let's take that same experience. The homeowner needs to get a roof, and we'll just say from a retail perspective, they need to get a roof. They go to the roofresource.com, they enter in their name, their phone number, and email address. They get contacted by us. Within 24 hours, we will have a full proposal ready to share with them via Zoom. We don't need to come to their home, but I will tell you that we'll offer that if they want someone to come out for 20 minutes, not 2 hours.
Yeah.
But we'll do the Zoom, and on that Zoom, we share with them a roof technology roofing report, all of the measurements. We show them every page what that means, and then a proposal. And here's something crazy, Brian. We lead the proposal with price. It's the 800-pound elephant is never at the end and how great we are because we're a service. We're not really selling roofs here. And we do it at a cost that is up to 50% less than retail. Because in roofing, you could value your service and say, hey, my installation and my team are the great, and I'm 900 a square. Somebody else says, oh, I just need to be lower than Brian, I'm 800 a square. And somebody else says, I need to be lower than this person. With the Roof Resource, it's a flat fee and cost, and we break it down for our flat fee, materials, labor, dumpster, permit, 14.1, retail 29,000, insurance 32,000. Worth that low number no matter what, if it goes through insurance or it goes through the individual homeowner. And that is the difference. It's, hey, there's no markup in materials, labor, dumpster permit. We get national buy rates on materials nationally. We're not the small guy that is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or the small guy in, Macomb, Michigan. We're national. And then we have national rates with our installation companies, which is a whole nother wonderful element that we can talk about.
Yeah.
And we have these rates so that it's all about volume and it's all about the ease for customer and transparency and simplicity. And so we remove all the stress when someone thinks, oh my God, my roof's going to be 25 or 30 grand. We're like, no, it's like 12, 14. And they're like, I can afford that.
Yeah. And now, are you guys also tapping into insurance, or you don't play in that world at all?
Oh yeah, we are on the verge of having a really strong partnership with Michigan Farm Bureau, and we are now just about to do something pretty big with AAA. And because what happens on that side of the house, Brian, is because of our price, respectfully, is at the bottom. Let's just say it's at the bottom, okay? But it's for high quality, full systems. So it's not, there's no game playing, and it's all brand new materials sent to the customer's home. On the insurance side, they use software, which you're probably familiar with, is Xactimate. And Xactimate says, hey, for Brian's home, we need to put on a laminated 3D architectural shingle. And then underneath it, it says 15 or 30 pound felt paper, believe it or not. And then just ice and water shield, et cetera, et cetera. And that rate, and we've done so many case studies now with Farm Bureau, after a customer's deductible, after they've, with the roof term and how long and the depreciation, they're paying out 16.1 and we're at 12.4.
What do those ratios mean? What do those ratios mean for the
loss ratio? So a loss ratio, what that means is when a insurance company, there's Xactimate, and then that's exactly where other roofing companies are coming in at that rate. So let me give you an example. Yeah. 18,000 for this one particular customer that we took care of, was
Okay.
Xactimate was saying that's the starting point of the roof. The customer received 3 quotes at 22 and 26,000. Two of them were at 26. Another one was at 22. So what would have happened if that customer would have been assigned to one of those companies? They would have taken that 18,000 and then they would have supplemented all the way up to 22 or 26, and then they would have been the tug of war back and forth. You need to pay me for this and that. The roof resource stepped in and we did that roof for 13.5. So what happened
Okay. Okay.
is
Yeah.
that the insurance company was like, well, wait a minute, we're already at 18. This is 13.5. It's a done deal. Like, do it
So,
for
no, so
13.5.
so now you have all these constituents, Mike, who like there's all these stakeholders in the roofing process, which I think is unique. Like I've had pest control done here at my house. I've had an appliance guy come in, and it's just like the pest control guy is like the single stake. I guess there's two stakeholders, me and the pest control guy. It sounds like in roofing, there's like multiple stakeholders. You have the roofing company, you have the homeowner, you have the installer, you have the supplier of the materials, and then you have this other variable, which is the insurance company. It sounds like Roof Resource is really creating a model that is a win for all the constituents in that process. And so really probably your own biggest enemy is the other roofing companies at this point, right? Who are
Well,
like,
yeah, I've been asked by a lot of people that, do you wear Kevlar? Do you have a Kevlar
because that's the
car?
only person I could think of in this whole equation that would
Right,
be
because
unhappy with it.
SRS is benefiting because 100% of all the materials are paid for before they leave the yard. We're the only roofing company in the country that does that.
Mhm.
Every other roofing company runs up a credit line. And what homeowners don't know, a little insight here, is that they don't know that, hey, I'm part of that credit line now. And if Smith Roofing doesn't, that's just a fake name, but Smith Roofing doesn't pay down their credit line or goes out of business. And when they say they're going out of business and they didn't pay down their credit lines, well, what happens is and this happens, you can go to roofingcontractor.com. That's an e-magazine. Every month, roofing companies, unfortunately, are folding. Homeowners don't know it, but they're part of that credit line and they get a lien placed on their house for the materials that were unpaid by that roofing company.
No, the homeowner can be liable to pay that.
The homeowner becomes liable just because the homeowner wrote a check to Smith Roofing for 18 grand.
Yeah.
He put the materials on his credit line and he doesn't pay down his credit line, and it happens every single month. So when you see these big roofing companies go belly up or bankrupt, they're just not bankrupting their own business. They're bankrupting the credit lines of all those roofing systems that have not been paid for, but are on people's homes.
Wow.
It is, when I learned about this 2 years ago, I was blown away
Yeah.
because our model I didn't create the model, Bryan, to prevent that. It's just that circumstances are, wow, we're actually handling another thing. And this is the reason why SRS loves our business, because we have zero debt with them. Everything is paid for before it leaves the yard. And so they have zero exposure with all of our customers.
Right. So for the uninitiated, it would sound like Roof Resource is kind of breaking even on all other parts of the new roof process other than their fee to install the roof. Is that right? That's where you make your profit essentially, is that
Well,
fee?
we have a flat fee.
Okay.
We have a flat fee that we
Yeah.
charge for every project. The flat fee can range depending upon the small size of the home to a very large home. We have a flat fee. And then we share that with the homeowner.
Yeah.
So it's right up front. They see what the flat fee is. It could be 1,700, or some of these really large, big homes that we've done that are 70, 80, 90 squares. It could be 3,500 with a flat fee. But I can tell you that one of the biggest homes that we've done so far was gentleman received prices for 69,000, 78 or 79,000, and 92,000. It was a 110 square home, 1412 pitch with two skylights, and we did it for 48,000 all in.
So what is Roof Resource doing then? Because it sounds like the name of the game in your model, Mike, is volume. So what are you
Yes.
guys doing from a business standpoint to ensure you can't eat off 3 roofs a year like maybe an independent contractor could? What are you guys doing from a sales and marketing perspective to
Right.
drive that volume?
And so that's a great question. So one is just through growth of a franchise. So if on franchising, we want to get out there as much as possible. We want to be able to get into these communities and start helping homeowners. The other thing is obviously we're on Google, but for me as the owner of this company, it is strategic partnerships with big brand real estate firms. And we've got a couple of big things going on right now. Obviously, I mentioned AAA. We're starting here in the Detroit market. They cover 60 million homes nationwide. And then Michigan Farm Bureau, which right now we've got, um, uh, I mean, just we have customers in the pipeline already.
Yeah.
And so, and it's taken, by the way, Brian, it's taken 2 years for Farm Bureau to really see that, hey, the Roof Resource does deliver on what they say, not once or twice. And it's not, hey, they delivered 3 times and then things fell apart or it's broken. Because again, they're $1 billion insurance company. And AAA caught wind of this. And I had a serious conversation in January with some big leaders there at corporate AAA. And again, it always blows their mind. Like, how are you doing it? But it's great for them because it reduces their loss ratio, but it still gives a impeccable customer experience. Like our customers, when you read the reviews, it's not, oh, they did a good job. They're just blown away through the transparency and the trust and the level of service. And we remove all of that complexity and stress that goes into who do I choose to get my roof done. So
Let's talk a bit about, Mike, about scaling the franchise side. I had the opportunity to meet with Michael Staples, who I think is your one of a few, or maybe just the only franchisee down here in Austin. He's a great guy and super thoughtful, and you got a great one with him. And I'm curious about how you go about, vetting franchisees, and that's a whole other business model. Is okay, you have this awesome service that the consumers love, but now we need to grow it, and then building up that franchisee roster and finding the right talent, I imagine is a very tall order. So what's been your process on finding the right people to help grow this business through franchising?
yeah, that's been a key area for us. Brian, it's in a couple of years we learn a lot about. It's not about hey, someone's had a successful business background and they should be successful with this. We really have to take the time to get to know the individual, for them to get to know what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, we are an emerging brand. We haven't been around for 25 years, right? We haven't figured it all out.
Yeah.
We're still figuring it out, but it's the key individuals that are wanting to really kind of plant their feet in with a new company, help it grow, understand the core, and align with our core values and what we do, how we do it, but more importantly, why we're doing what we're doing. Um, and so that whole vetting and getting to know people, that's a 3 month, 4 month process. It's not just, hey, someone wants to buy a franchise and we're like, okay, great.
On the dotted line. Yeah.
Yes, sign on the line. We tell our franchisees that they got to be part of that community. They have to know their community. And Mike is a dynamite individual. Came with a lot. But let me give you a really good example, Brian. Jeff and Brenton Nelson, they're up in Idaho, and they know the Idaho market. They've born and raised there, big family, ranchers, cowboying, all that good stuff, right? Now, I'm a Midwest guy. So if we wanted to go out to Idaho and we wanted to do a home show, we would probably come with our koozies and maybe some umbrellas and try to figure it out, right? These guys go to a home show and they bring as people give them with leads, hey, they're interested in getting a proposal. It's 5 pound bag of jerky. And they said, it's amazing. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what their communities. So, and I was pointing out to my team, it's a perfect example. We're not tied into the community, so we don't know that community as well
Little
as
nuances
they
and
do.
yeah.
And when we vet out these people and they're tied into their community, they know what they want, they know what they look for. That's something that we can't bring, but it does take time for us to get to know them, for them to get to know our model, how it's so different. Because then again, at the end of the day, we'll be the lowest price. I mean, we'll be at the bottom with the highest value and the stress-free experience. But at the end of the day, homeowners are going to choose what they choose. So
For people listening in our audience, Mike, a lot of them are either just starting out in home services or local business or want to get started. And typically there's the build or the buy path. For someone that's listening, clearly you're steeped in the franchise world, but for someone that's listening and thinking about maybe starting their own home services company or local business versus maybe getting involved with the franchise, what would you tell that person in terms of how to evaluate each opportunity and whether building or buying something makes more sense?
So a couple of things I would say is one, the gunslinger, the guy, gal who wants to get out there and just kind of blaze their own path, franchising is not for them. And the reason for that is that you have to stick to the process. The process is the process. And there's a great video out there about, you don't know when the process is going to love you back, but when it does, it's great. But you have to stick to it. And you got to know your own personality is that, hey, if you can stick to a process and a formula and you love that, franchising can be very, very good for you because a lot of it's been already figured out. Now, if you're that trailblazer and you want to go figure it out yourself, that's good. Second, unique value proposition. Now, I've probably spoke to well over 200 people in the last 4 months. And one of the things I tell them all is that one, picking up the sword and jumping into the arena of entrepreneurship is, as you, Bryan, so empowering. It's so great.
For sure.
When you're doing something like that, what is the unique value proposition that you're looking at? Are you just another dry cleaner? Are you just another cookie manufacturer? Are you just another something? What is that unique value prop? Because that's the differentiator when the homeowner, the customer, the business is saying, well, this is why I choose you. Right. And so those are things that I think are the two biggest gems of, hey, if I'm going to choose franchising, why am I going to choose a restoration company? Right. Because even though this restoration company could be super great, it still requires you. And how good you are matters because somebody else could just be you, Bryan. You could be running a roof resource franchise, and you could be ripping the cover off the ball. There could be another roof resource franchise, and they're just doing okay. You're priming the pump every day. You're out there rocking and rolling. You're engaging. You're doing everything needed, and that is in any business, right? It's in any business. So I think that there's a lot that has to go into. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to run my own show. I just feel it inside that it's time for me to do that. And then it's, do I really want a system and process and plan? Or do I want to figure out my own? And then it's unique value proposition.
Yeah, it's an interesting intermediary franchising, I think, between, entrepreneurship generally and then employment. And it's like a little bit of both in a sense, right? You're given this product and this process that is proven, but you're allowed to do it in your own way. So no, it's really interesting. I remember I'm really into dogs. I have a dog and I'm a certified dog trainer. It's a whole separate chapter of my life, but I looked into some of these dog daycare franchises because I think that's a great business. And we have a customer called Dog Drop who's growing and does the franchising. And it's interesting. But then I ask myself, I'm like, I think part of what I love so much about entrepreneurship is the creativity and the ability to forge my own path. And so I looked into them and I'm like, yeah, I see the benefits, but I also see the challenges. But I also know that a lot of people have had a lot of success. So in terms of the franchise growth, Mike, however much you want to share or can share, like would love to hear about kind of what the goals are for this year and next year and how many franchises you're looking to have, and anything you can share about around the growth would be pretty interesting.
So with our growth, one of the things that we have been looking at is our end goal is an 80-20, which means wholly owned, and 20% of our total business will be franchised. It's important for us to get into the communities, grow the brand, and really give opportunity for these, I would say, early pioneers of the roof resource. The end of this year, we're looking at having 100 units between franchising and wholly owned, the states of Pennsylvania, the rest of New Jersey, maybe Wisconsin, Illinois, really the Midwest will turn into more wholly owned. We have franchises that are going to be opening up in North Carolina, Tennessee, Colorado, Utah. So those are going to continue to grow. Um, but at the end state is that it'll be an 80-20. We are not only going to just be doing roofs, I would say, I would probably forecast by the end of this month, we'll then be rolling out gutter guards, excuse me. So gutter guards will also become part of our mix and being able to offer that level of service. 70% of the homes do not have a gutter guard on their home. And we know that there's, Leaf Filter is one of the largest, biggest names out there. When they come to the home, they start out people at $30 to $40 a linear foot. And then, of course, they go from there. We're going to be all in at between, I think it's like $7 and $8 a linear foot installed with a 40-year micro mesh stainless steel product. So, and again, removing all of the complexity and stress and getting multiple quotes, doing all of that, we're going to bring that into the fold. And then next year, we look to get into the window business.
Love it. Mike, anything we didn't cover here today that you wanted to get to?
No, I think this was pretty good.
Cool. Mike, well, appreciate you coming on. Congrats on all of the growth. It's been awesome to, be aware of it and meet with Mike down here in Austin. And just, I think you guys have a really cool model for people that are listening and may want to hire you to do a roof, or potentially we have a lot of entrepreneurs in our audience or maybe interested in franchise opportunities. Where can folks connect with you and the Roof Resource online?
Yeah, I mean, going to the roofresource.com, they can submit their information or drop me an email at mike@theroofresource.com.
Perfect. Mike, thanks so much for the time. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
All right, Brian, you too. Thank you so much.